Hello and welcome to episode 131 of the official EstablishTheRun.com podcast. My name is Adam Levitan. I'm the father of the most beautiful beast in the world, Jerry, and we are coming off of a feel like puking kind of week. Yes, that's right. When Justin Jackson went down on the first play of Sunday's game with a knee injury, I actually felt sick, like someone punched me in the stomach, like kind of can't breathe a little bit, just totally gutted. And that let me know two things. First, I'm actually alive, so that's good. I actually do wonder sometimes. So I'm actually alive. I have feelings. That's good. Second, I thought, since I had that feeling, I was like, maybe I'm playing a little bit too big in cash. Like when you get this feeling in your stomach, in your chest, tough to shake it off. Maybe I just have too much money on one team. But I actually don't think that's the case. I mean, I'm playing well within my role and I'm getting what I think is good action. It's just anytime something like the Justin Jackson thing happens, it's just tough. But really, the last thing I want to do is bitch, like one thing about this, if DFS or poker or any skill-based game can teach us to handle losing, because we're going to lose a lot of the time, handle losing well, handle it with class, don't go tweet at Justin Jackson, calling him a bitch, don't whine about Matt Patricia not playing DeAndre Swift more and costing you money. Don't tell your friends about bad beats and kind of fish for sympathy. It's only natural. I do it too, but I really don't want to. So the bottom line on the Justin Jackson thing, I mean, it happens. We try to handle it with class. We move on, nothing else to really do. And to be honest, I got really lucky with other parts of my cash team. Not many people played Irv Smith because he projected poorly, but, I kind of feel at home flirting with zeros at tight end. And so Irv Smith ends up running just 9 routes, somehow turns it into 4 targets and 2 touchdowns. Really fortunate there. I thought Christian Blake would see the biggest role change with Calvin Ridley out. Turned out to be Olamide Zaccheaus. Blake runs just 5 routes, somehow turns those 5 routes into 3-31-0. And also, so I got lucky with those guys. And also, I didn't prioritize the 200 that I needed to get to Keenan Allen over Tyler Lockett, which probably was a mistake. Could have punted at defense even harder than the Falcons, maybe Vikings or something. So yeah, all in all, happy to escape the week without losing too much in cash despite the Justin Jackson thing. Anyway, I know no one wants to talk about cash. That's boring. Let's get to tournaments because, part of the allure of tournaments, at least to me, is the Justin Jackson situation. Hey, I put up $20. I put up 50, 100, 500, whatever. I tried to win 500K or whatever, had some fun. Justin Jackson goes down on play 1. Well, whatever. I didn't lose very much. I lost $50. I lost $20 I had on that team with Justin Jackson. I didn't lose very much. Not that big a deal. And so, there's some allure to that in tournaments where obviously like when you put up a little to win a lot, your risk goes down. One thing I thought was interesting about week 9 though was how the pricing really made it tough. In other words, like I wanted to play Mahomes, Kelsey, Tyreek, Christian McCaffrey, which would have been unbelievable, right? But no prayer, like not even close to realistic given their salaries. I wanted to play Russ, Metcalf, Lockett, Diggs, can't do it. So in weeks like this, I think we start to see how cheaper stacks can make sense. And I had one of my best GPP teams of the season. Shout out to me. It was Drew Lock, 5,200, Jerry Jeudy down at 4,700, Noah Fant, 4,600, and Julio as the stack. Drew Lock double stack, Julio bring back. Talked about on Friday on the show with Evan and Wiggins how Atlanta's pass-centric tendencies combined with their defense's ability to defend the run, plus how dreadfully bad their own secondary is. It sets up for like this powder keg kind of environment in terms of plays run, in terms of passing efficiency, kind of similar to Seattle games. So anyway, by only spending 5,200 for Lock and very little for Jeudy and Fant, well, now I have enough money for Dalvin and Julio and Chase Edmonds, the expensive guys that I really liked. Finish this lineup with my favorite mid-range wide receiver of the week in Deontay Johnson, and then Brandon Cooks for a 4 wide receiver lineup. Speaking of 4 wide receiver lineups, one thing people ask about a lot is flex positions. Typically in cash, I play 3 running backs. I'm sure you guys have noticed that. And that's true on DraftKings, but that's especially true on Fanduel where it's so touchdown heavy. But in tournaments, I think each week and each lineup is different. This week I knew the 5K range of running backs would be popular. DJ Dallas, Justin Jackson, David Johnson. But I didn't think there was like a question that we could find a higher ceiling with wide receivers in that range. Judy, Sterling Shepard, Mecole Hardman, Deontay, Chark, Cooks. So gaining some ownership leverage on that 5K range of running backs who I thought weren't great plays. And then going wide receiver, you just get better ceilings anyways in DraftKings format with full PPR and 100-yard bonuses. So no brainer. I had 5 tournament teams this week. They all had wide receiver and flex. Other weeks, if I think there's really good running back plays, I might have running backs and flex more often. Okay, I wanted to address the change that DraftKings decided to make at high stakes head-to-heads. I'm not sure if you guys saw my tweet about it. I think it was like last Saturday or something. And it affects very, very few people. I get that. But I know people are interested in what goes on at high stakes in the high stakes world. So I figured I would talk about it. So on DraftKings, hopefully you guys know that you can block up to 10 users from taking your head-to-heads that you post. I wrote about this in the book, Skin to Fur, of course. Wrote about it in the game selection article you can find for free on ETR. But anyways, on DraftKings only, not Fanduel, you can block up to 10 users from taking head-to-heads that you post. The idea is to let people post head-to-heads without getting them picked off, by bum hunters or whoever else. Now, the big change starting this week, starting week 10, is that at the $1,000 level and up, 1K level and up for head-to-heads, DraftKings is not allowing blocks anymore. I'll say that again. At the $1,000 head-to-head level and up, DraftKings is not allowing blocks anymore. In other words, it's fucking on. The battle for the lobby is on, and I suspect it's going to get pretty wild. Because whereas before, like the 10th best player in the world might have 1 through 9 blocked, well, if that 10th best player now wants to post at 1K plus, there's a chance they're going to get scooped, a pretty good chance, and have to battle it out. And I know what you're thinking, right? Like, who cares? This is just a dick measuring contest, and that's it. But there's actually a lot of value in controlling the high stakes lobby. Like going back to the Kandia days, the Sahil days, aka Max Dallery. Let's say I scoop every single person who posts at 1K and up. Just they repost, I keep scooping them. I will literally be the only one who is posted in the lobby. So anyone in the world, Sharp, Square, Fake Sharp, whatever, if they want to play high stakes, they have to play me. And yeah, that's valuable. So it's an interesting change for sure. I think it's more fair, to be honest. But yeah, it's going to create some sick action between, the best and the second tier sharps and the third tier sharps and whoever else. I think it's going to do that. I mean, we'll see. I'm excited though. Okay. Before we get to today's listener questions, I want to remind everyone we do have a sponsor for this podcast. If you can believe that, yes. This podcast is brought to you by the good people at Underdog Fantasy. If you want some background on them, go back and listen to episode 82 I did with Underdog's founder, Jeremy Levine. Good dude. The concept, I think, that they have going that's most interesting right now is called Battle Royale. It's a combination of DFS and best ball. So you simply do a snake draft, 6-player roster, and then you have a GPP-style tournament for 1 week. So strategy is actually interesting in a 6-round draft. It's not going to go very deep into the player pool, but you can't just sit there and take all the best players without thinking about it. You need stacking. You need some off-the-board plays who have a reasonable chance at a spike week, because much like regular DFS, you can't just play the optimal and expect to win a large field tournament. Buy-in is $5. After you deposit, mention on the pop-up you heard about Underdog Fantasy on ETR, and you'll be eligible for some ETR swag that we'll have an announcement about soon. Again, underdogfantasy.com. Make sure to enter promo code ETR after you make a deposit. Okay, enough is enough. It is time for everyone's favorite portion of the program. Producer Luke, hit the theme music. All right, question 1 comes from Ken. He says, when Adam Schefter retweets you or shares one of your takes on Facebook, do you get a chub? So what Ken is referring to is his tweet I sent on Wednesday morning after Election Day. I mean, first of all, it was wild, man. So if you trust and understand Nate Silver's work and factor in some variance and even build in some significant error, for Trump, bets on Biden before the election were still showing an outrageous profit, like unheard of edges in sports betting. Like a state or whatever that was priced at, minus 170 in the betting market Well, the true line was closer to like minus 300. And, in some states, and even in the general, like just absolutely printing EV. So I had a bunch of Biden before the election. And I sit down and I start sweating this bet, like I would sweat a football game, and then Trump performs better than expected in Florida. He's clearly winning Ohio, and the market just flips. I mean, goes nuts. I mean, to the point where live betting Trump was minus 550. I saw at one point late on Tuesday night, just a massive favorite. So I thought, good game on the Biden bets, and went to bed. Of course, I wasn't educated on the process really. I didn't understand that nothing had really changed. Arizona was so huge and in play. States like Wisconsin and Pennsylvania and Michigan had barely even started counting votes yet, let alone mail-ins. So whatever, I wake up on Wednesday morning and it had gone from Trump minus 550 to Biden minus 170. And then a few hours later, it was like Biden minus 350. And so, because I'm sick and I view everything through gambling, I just tweeted something like, I went to bed, Trump was minus 550. I wake up, Biden's minus 170. This is like a Falcons game. I didn't think much of it really. And then Schefter retweets it. And then next thing you know, I got Russian bots in my mentions and, people warring, the MAGAs versus the liberals. And then I got the Falcons fans in there pissed off that I threw their team under the bus, even though, their win probability stuff has been insane so many times over the last few years. I mean, just a total zoo. But anyway, back to the question from Ken. He says, when Schefter retweets or shares one of your takes, do you get a chub? I mean, yeah, for sure. Full 3.9 inches. I mean, Schefty is just the true GOAT. He loves fantasy. He loves DFS, not just DFS football, but loves the NBA. Has like 4 golden doodles, 4 Jerrys. Always accurate with his injury reporting. Loves to share it well before lock. It's just the best. So yeah, for sure. Love Schefty. Question 2 from Miles Miller. Says, I've got sons 9 and 7 who like watching football with dad, see my DFS work, and want to join in making teams. We've been doing a 3-man contest for a few weeks now. Is this good? Or am I creating a new generation of degen gamblers? Yeah, brutally tough question. Not easy. So I think ideally, in a perfect world, they learn about peer-to-peer skill games for money, which some people would call gambling. They learn about this in a way that helps them with life. Not about winning money, that helps them with life, understanding how to build a strategy, how to research correctly, how to lose, how to think probabilistically instead of all or nothing. Like, it's amazing to me how many people see, like Nate Silver's work in the election and they say, well, he has Biden 70% to win. It's over. Like, I don't know how you could think that to yourself. Like, do you know how many 70-30s I've lost in my life? So I guess my answer is, will they learn to play DFS or learn to play poker the quote unquote right way? I don't know. We can do our best to teach them, but it's not an easy thing, especially for a teenager. I remember playing at Parks, poker, and this father-son duo would come, a reasonable amount of the time. And the father was pretty mild-mannered, lost calmly, knew he wasn't very good. He was cool. But the son, I mean, if he lost, and he was terrible, if he lost a pot, he would just throw the cards and bitch and he was terrible. He just didn't know it. And the dad would have to just sit there embarrassed. Now, will Miles' kids, will my kids be like that? Or will they put in the work to be good and play within their role and be thoughtful? I mean, I don't know. I guess you could say, well, if I was a good dad, I could teach them the right way. I'm just not confident I'm able to do that. I'm just the worst. So I really don't know. Question 3 from Kevin Pulsifer. He says, with so much uncertainty on teams like Baltimore and Indy, etc., could it be worth crossing them off your list no matter what? Even in the weeks we think we know what they have to do, they flip the script. Feels like an edge if you fade these teams no matter what. Well, I mean, if you're talking cash, yeah, I think it's quite easy not to worry about guys with uncertain roles. We don't know how much Jonathan Taylor is going to play today. He may have a big ceiling, but we just can't accept that he may get benched for Jordan Wilkins. Some people out there think Marquise Brown is really good. I'm not one of them, of course, but we can't just accept Marquise's floor in cash with Lamar throwing like this in the way they run their offense. But in tournaments, I mean, the field is thinking along the same lines. Lamar Jackson at 6,900 in week 9. The lowest he's been since early last year was just 4% owned. Same with Mark Andrews at 4,800. Marquise Brown was 2%. JT was 0.5%. So yeah, I think the concentration of targets and tight range of outcomes is of course better, in a vacuum. But in larger field tournaments, being willing to get last place is something that is actually correct. If Lamar runs into a 3 touchdown passing, 1 touchdown rushing game and you're the only one that has it, well, that's incredibly valuable, of course. So yeah, I think the field is, adapting. And if you want to say that somebody whose role we're uncertain of is over-owned, like DJ Dallas would be a good example. We were really low on DJ Dallas in our projections relative to the field because we had Travis Homer and Alex Collins projected for a significant amount of work. And really low grades on DJ Dallas' efficiency. So if you want to argue that stuff, DJ Dallas is going to be 20% owned and his role is actually uncertain, well, yeah, that's a huge edge. Question 4 from John Proctor. Lots of optimal projections spit out 2 tight end builds this past week. So now the 2 tight end bros are never going to go away. How do we convince the 2 tight end bros they're actually wrong and 2 tight end is bad? Yeah, so for the guys that don't know, by optimals, all John means is taking a set of projections, running them through an optimizer to see which combo of players has the highest projected points. And with value so brutal in week 9, 2 tight ends with something like Hayden Hurst and Hunter Henry were going to pop a lot in optimals as they were both 4K, allowing you to get, an expensive quarterback who separated really a wide range from the rest of the quarterbacks, Julio, Chase, Lockett, Keenan, whatever. Of course, what the median projection doesn't show is ceiling, doesn't show range. So while yes, in a median, those double tight end lineups perform well, in reality, we need guys who can win the slate for us. So I can't remember the last time I played a 2 tight end lineup, in GPP or cash. I think some people will argue it's fine, but to me at least, the touchdown dependence at the position, the lack of yards after catch, other than guys like Kittle, lack of air yards. All these things add up to wide receiver or running back, and flex is a better construction, in my opinion. By the way, if you are interested in using an optimizer with our projections, we do have a deal with Fantasy Labs. Head to the site from the DFS tab and you'll see more information there about that. Question 5 from Jeff Edelstein, friend of the show, Jeff Edelstein edited the seminal book of our generation, Skin to Fur. You can find it on Amazon. Anyways, Jeff says, saw you were at the beach. I love the beach. I hate going with my kids. Too much stuff, too many bathroom breaks, too much feeding seagulls, too much whining. What's the GTO play for a family day at the beach? Honestly, I don't even love the beach that much personally. The water is disgusting. There's people pissing and shitting in there. Everyone is just sitting around and talking, yenting, while the sun just, chars everybody with melanoma. However, I do think it's the stone best activity for kids, at least kids my age, 5 and 2. First of all, it's about an hour drive from where we live. And so they're locked into their car seats. We listen to the Grateful Dead. It's actually peaceful. Then we get there, they have essentially this huge sand pit and water pit that they can just go berserk on, nothing to break, nothing to get messy, no one to piss off, just go completely nuts. And they can't really get hurt. The sand is soft, the water isn't deep, they love it. And then after, they're actually tired, they sleep. They have that peaceful hour ride back home. And on top of all that, it's free. God, where else can you find an activity for 2 kids like that that's just completely free that they love? As for Jeff's concerns, yeah, I don't know. We don't bring that much stuff. We bring 1 bucket of toys. That's it. If they have to go to the bathroom, they go in the ocean. Everybody else does anyways. I actually think it's probably my favorite activity with kids of this age. I would say trampoline park, maybe a close second, but yeah, beach is awesome for kids. Question 6 from DFS Texas. How do you know when it's time to stop playing DFS? Not from a money point of view, but from a value of time being wasted. Asking for a friend, of course. Yeah, it's a very good question. Nothing in the entire world is more valuable than time. Nothing. It's the only thing we can't directly buy more of, the only thing we can't get back. DFS is supposed to be fun, like a fun use of your time. 99% of people should be thinking of it as entertainment and a strategy exercise that they enjoy. If you're not enjoying it and you're spending a lot of time on it, credit to you for thinking about that. I will say one thing that I try to do, not always successfully, but, by watching the games, sweating them, I know it's fun, but damn it, it takes up a lot of time. If you spend, 5 or 10 hours during the week getting ready for an NFL slate and then 10 hours sweating it, well, we can quickly lop off, 10 sweating hours easily. We're not really gaining anything. Yeah, we have to check in for late swap, but beyond that, watching the games isn't going to make our guys play any better. But the real answer here, I think, is condensing your research time. Like the whole idea of ETR, we try to give you what we think you need and nothing more. Of course, we could keep adding zillions of articles and overwhelm you with data and say, oh, we have 50 articles this week about DFS. We consciously make decisions that less is more. So we get you the information we think you actually need. You can digest it easily and quickly. You don't have to spend time researching, projected routes runs for Patriots wide receivers in last night's game. We do it for you. And so I get what you're saying, and I encourage people to think hard about how they spend their short time on this earth. But saving time playing DFS with a more streamlined process, I think, is always possible. All right, question 7 from Bill. Last question we're going to do today. He says, I have my first child due in April. Is there anything that is a must do before she arrives? Did you have a last hurrah of any sorts before the first one? For what it's worth, wife stopped birth control and it was either my first or second shot that procreated. Has GenderLabs ever seen that efficiency before? Yeah, so what to do, the first part of the question, what to do before your first child arrives. I mean, just live, damn it. It's so dumb. All your buddies, all your family, all the adults will offer quote unquote condolences, when you get married, right? Oh, it was a good run. You're getting married now. It's over, blah, blah, blah. That's bullshit. Being married is great. Life isn't really any different. The reason to say those things to someone getting married, though, is because you're essentially signing a contract to have kids. Because yes, once you have kids, everything changes. I knew this was coming, of course, like the big change in my life from, max independence and freedom to the exact opposite. I knew this was coming, of course, and it sounds like Bill does too. So I was just trying to be up for anything. Like, when my wife was pregnant with our first kid, someone asked me to do something, like, I'm in. Forget sleep, forget work, forget anything. Once that first baby is coming, that 9 months should be the best 9 months of your life. Go berserk. I remember before my first son was born, my friend was in Switzerland for work. He asked me if I wanted to meet him there in a couple of days. I just booked a flight and went. It was incredible. I'm so glad I did that. As for the second part of your question about conceiving on your first or second session post BC after birth control, I mean, that's a nice brag, but come on, that's amateur hour. The advanced stuff that we're working on at GenderLabs includes beating birth control altogether. That's like putting a man on Mars. That's next level stuff. Get on my level. Okay. That is going to do it for today's solo pod. Be sure to head to establishtheRun.com. We're running a sale right now for rest of season now that there are 9 weeks in the books. I'll be back later tonight with Silva for the team by team pods. For Jerry, for producer Luke, I am Adam. Good luck, everybody.